The Home Mortgage Law Show is a paid program and is intended as a resource guide for education, information, and entertainment purposes and is not intended to provide specific legal advice. The information that you hear should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice from a professional attorney. Hiring of an attorney is an important decision which should not be based on advertising or the information that you hear today.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Home Mortgage Law Show, brought to you by the law offices of Morris duPont. Attorneys Will Morris, Shea duPont, here for you. The number is the same whether you're in the South Florida area or in the Tampa area. It's toll free to call the show and talk to the experts one-on-one. 866-610-NEWS, 866-610-6397. AT&T Wireless customer star 610. And if you're out and about and maybe at the game, you can always reach us through social media. Facebook, it's the Home Mortgage Law Show, sponsored by Morris duPont, PA. And on Twitter, it's Morris duPont, PA.
Welcome. Here we are, live again.
What game?
With this, right. What game? What silly game? Only the game.
The game. The you. That's right.
Here we are, Shay, live in person.
We are. We're back live. Last week we aired a
Best
pre-recorded
of.
show, Best of, because we were moving our offices.
Oh, yeah.
Oy vey.
Oh, my goodness.
That was pretty crazy. For any of you out there that might be clients of Morris duPont, and you were owed a phone call back this past
or an
week.
email. We've been trying to respond to the email. The phone calls are a little bit trickier.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Or if any of you work for Comcast.
Funny. It turns out I knew a buddy of mine from law school who's now a big wig in Comcast. I wound up calling him yesterday and said, listen, get on it. And he's made some moves, and I've been getting calls all day about somebody being in the office first thing Monday morning to get it done.
Well, hallelujah, because I don't remember getting such bad service anywhere else.
No.
But we're here to talk today with the members of the law firm of the Morris duPont about mortgages, about foreclosure, short sales, loan modifications, settling out that second mortgage. Whatever topic regarding your mortgage and problems you might be having with it, we're here to talk about it. So feel free to give us a call. We can answer it on air. You can also schedule an appointment with the law firm of Morris duPont. Remember, we have offices in the Tampa Bay area and Miami. That would be in St. Petersburg, Tampa, Dadeland, Doral, Aventura, Fort Lauderdale, Plantation, Boca Raton, and West Palm Beach. Well, as you know, I was down in Key West this past week.
Right.
Wow.
That's right. We saw the tweets, or the Facebook posts.
Yep.
Pretty funny stuff.
Representing some people down in the Keys, down in Monroe, and of course, when the need arises, we're down there. Was down doing a mediation in Key West. If you've got a mediation, it's very different. A mediation in a foreclosure setting than any other type of mediation. So if you are in foreclosure and your lender has offered you mediation, or if the court has ordered the parties to go to mediation, remember, it's a lot different than any other kind of mediation.
Right.
You
It's almost like getting a modification done, right? It's almost like you have to go through the whole process of submitting documents, like if you're trying to get a loan modification.
Oh, whatever you're trying to do, it's got to be done really at least 20 days before the mediation. And there's some very specific ways of doing it so that you actually can get something accomplished during the mediation. We love it. I'm probably at a mediation at least once a week with one of our clients. Love doing them. I always think that it moves a file forward.
Absolutely.
And
at least you know where you stand when you walk out of the mediation.
Exactly. And for the first time, Will, I was at that mediation in Key West, and I was assuming that there would be a lender representative on the telephone. Nope, they showed up in person. Very first time in all these years that I've ever had a lender representative.
Let me guess, they were coming from up north? They wanted to go to Key West as well?
Well, actually, it was his 5-year anniversary. So what do you know? He brought his
wife
along for the trip.
Smart guy.
Yeah, he knows how to work it.
Exactly.
So it wasn't too surprised. And, of course, we've got lots of news coming up in the show today. We've got Pam Marin, who is a mortgage broker. She's going to come on the show with us because...
I'm sure she's happy.
Well, you're very happy. She was in the news this past week.
Absolutely.
Along with Senator Bill Nelson regarding the coding of short sales on your credit reports.
Man.
You know, it just goes to show you, if you really care about something strongly, you can change
Yeah.
things. Pam
She
has
made the
changed
Washington
things.
Post.
Yep, the Washington Post, and you can change things. She did it on a federal level.
Uh-huh.
On a federal level.
Awesome.
For everyone in the United States, she has changed. If you had done a short sale previously, there was no coding for that.
On the credit bureaus.
Right.
Right.
Right, for your on your credit score.
And it actually showed up as a foreclosure, which
very
Yeah.
often it sure did. So that has now been changed, and we really have to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Pam Marin was the leading consumer advocate on that. She made it happen.
I see we have some calls already. Let's hit the
Whoa.
phones.
Let's do it.
David, welcome to the show.
Hi, David.
David?
David.
David's having like two conversations at once. We'll come back to him. Hey, Margie.
Hi, Margie. What can we do for you today?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm calling for information regarding, my husband and I, we have an investment property. It's currently underwater by about $75,000. We've been approved for a loan modification through another service. However, it doesn't cover our second mortgage of about $25,000, a home equity loan. So we're wanting advice on, is this option available where we can combine both the first and second loan mortgages under a loan modification?
Okay. Well, very simple answer to that last question. The answer is no. You can't combine these mortgages, even when the same mortgage servicing company is servicing the mortgages. Who's the lender on the first mortgage?
Bank of America.
Okay. And who's the lender on the second mortgage?
The Green Tree Services.
Green Tree. Okay. So you can't combine them because, of course, different investors actually own those mortgages, and then you can't combine them. So that doesn't work. There's an in-depth analysis that any investor needs to do when it comes to an investment property. You have to look at the monthly housing expense for that property, and that is with the loan modification. You take, of course, the mortgages, the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and the homeowners association fee. So you combine those all together. And what is the new monthly housing expense after you get the loan modification? So in your case, let's say that, it was previously the monthly housing expense was $1,750. With the loan modification, it's lowered it to $1,500, but you only get in rent $1,200. Well, then it still doesn't solve your problem, especially if you still have negative equity on the property.
Yeah, you've got to come out of pocket every month to subsidize the mortgage payments.
Right. But if the loan but if it's $1,750, it lowers it to $1,500, and the rent is $1,650. Well, then maybe it does make sense to continue to keep the property. But that's one of the analysis that you need to do. And then, of course, the issue is still with the negative equity. So you're saying that we've got the Green Tree mortgage. So let's take a break. Let's take a couple commercials, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about how to deal with that second mortgage. Okay, Margie?
Okay.
All right, hold on.
Thanks.
You're listening to the Home Mortgage Law Show, 1-800-974-2712. Yes, you can call right now and book your free consultation at the law offices of Morris DuPont. If you can hear the show, there is an office near you, 1-800-974-2712. That's 1-800-974-2712. Much more of the Home Mortgage Law Show coming up right after the break. You're listening to the Home Mortgage Law Show, brought to you by the law offices of Morris DuPont. Attorneys Will Morris and Shay DuPont here for you. The number's the same whether you're in the Tampa area or in the South Florida area. It's 866-610-NEWS. That's 866-610-6397. AT&T Wireless customers, star 610. On the phone, we have Margie.
And Margie is asking about an investment property that she has. She's got a first mortgage with Bank of America, second mortgage with Green Tree, got a loan modification offer. That's kudos to you, Margie. I know how hard it is for individuals to get loan modifications, especially when it comes to investment properties, but you managed to do it. Now what you're trying to do is actually analyze whether or not that loan modification is good enough to warrant you continuing to keep the property or analyzing possible other options, which would include a short sale. Now, you said that you have $75,000 of negative equity on the property, correct?
Right, and I just want to clarify, the second mortgage is through Bank of America as well.
Oh, okay, I thought it was say Green
Bank
Tree.
of America sold the first mortgage to Green Tree.
Okay,
All right. I understand.
All right, so it actually they didn't sell it to Green Tree because these are mortgage servicing companies, and the investor that owns the note possibly transferred the service rights, or the service rights were sold, and the investor might have remained the same or changed. But whatever, the servicing company has
the
changed.
analysis still remains the same. You can't necessarily combine the two, even though it might be the same bank.
Absolutely. Well, I agree with that. So you've still got $75,000 of negative equity on the property. The loan modification did not include a principal reduction. Is that correct?
We don't know. We actually don't have the terms of the loan modification currently, and it's basically the loan modification is contingent upon a 3-month trial payment basis beginning in October. And then after that, they will determine whether or not to go forward with the modification.
Okay, great.
Okay, fine.
So trial modification is perfectly normal. When you got the trial modification offer, did it mention whether or not it was a trial modification under HAMP, the Home Affordable Modification Program, which is used to be only for primary residences, but HAMP has opened up. There's now HAMP 2.0, and that is available for investment property. So do you remember any language on the front page of the trial modification? Congratulations.
No.
You've been qualified for a Home Affordable Modification Program, trial program.
Let me see.
And sometimes you can see in the lower left-hand corner there's a footer, and it will say whether what kind of a loan modification it is as well.
Okay, let me see here. Fannie Mae loan modification.
Okay, so we know it says Fannie Mae. Okay, so because it's a Fannie Mae, which is
no
unusual.
principal reduction there.
Exactly, Will. Because it's a Fannie Mae loan, you cannot get a principal reduction because Fannie Mae does not allow principal reductions. So whatever that.
My husband's calling in on it. He may have a question too. Do you mind?
Real quickly, we're on the air. So
what, honey?
Oh, that's not going to work.
Hello.
Yeah, that's not going to work, Margie. No. So we know now that because this property has a first mortgage that is a Fannie Mae loan, she couldn't get a principal reduction. So she's got this $75,000 in negative equity. Right. It could result in a deferment of some amount.
They could do a deferment, which is the second best thing, meaning that it doesn't. They put it in the back end. It doesn't accrue. It doesn't. What is the word, Shay?
It doesn't accrue interest.
It doesn't accrue interest,
right?
And it just sits there.
It just sits there.
And that's the second best thing. I don't mind that at all because given that Fannie Mae doesn't give you a principal reduction, that's just as good. And if you ever sell the property, you have to sort of pay off that money that's sitting out there in Never Never Land.
Yeah, it's a balloon payment, or it comes back into play if you want to refinance the property or if you sell the property. So we've got Margie back.
Amortizing, that's the word.
Okay. I'm sorry, good. I couldn't.
Not a problem. So we know that you can't get a principal reduction, so you're going to be stuck with this $75,000 in negative equity on the property. So when you're looking at an investment property, you're looking at what's my monthly housing expense versus what's my cash flow on the property. And then that $25,000 second mortgage, honestly, Margie, I probably wouldn't have been paying that since about 2008. Right. And your lender would have probably already forgiven that loan and canceled that debt. But I assume you're current on that mortgage.
Right. It's
there you go.
Current on that.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Correct.
I wouldn't make any payments on that second. And here's the reason why.
So we should just discontinue making payments, is what you're saying?
That's what I would do.
That's what I'm not saying you should do that, but that's what I would do.
Exactly.
That's what I would do. I would try to negotiate that second, right, Shay?
Yeah, because it's completely unsecured by the property. What does that mean when I say it's unsecured by the property? Think about it. The value of the property is less than the value of the first mortgage. So if you default on the second mortgage, and the second mortgage was to file a foreclosure action against the property, and it was sold at a foreclosure auction, the proceeds of the sale would go to the first
and the
mortgage
second
holder.
would get nothing. So chances are they will never file a foreclosure action against you.
Right, because there's nothing for them to
There's
gain
nothing.
by filing a foreclosure action. Bank of America has been forgiving these second mortgages, for the
Yeah,
last 18 months.
yeah, absolutely. Since February of last year.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Wow.
but you
Okay.
can't be current. They're not going to forgive
Yeah.
a mortgage that's
The old
current.
squeaky wheel concept.
Yeah. Did you get a loan
Okay.
modification on
So
an?
if we, I'm sorry, what?
Did you get a loan modification while you were current on the first mortgage?
No, we weren't current.
Okay.
No,
Oh. Okay.
we had initially tried to opt for a short sale, but the buyer backed out at the last minute. So then we just decided we'll go ahead and pursue a loan modification.
Well, I'll tell you what, Margie, you're welcome to call the office, and I will chat with you, and I will crunch the numbers with you, and I will give you my opinion as to whether or not I think it makes sense to accept the loan modification. Of course, better to make the 3 trial modification payments and then see what the permanent loan modification comes in at. What's the new interest rate going to be? What is the amortization going to be? Are they going to pull it out to 40 years? Are they going to keep it at like year 22 where it is now? Let's see what they're willing to do. But because it's a Fannie Mae and you can't get a principal reduction and this is an investment property, I think you will probably be better off with the short sale. But let's see. Give me a call at the office. Where are you located?
Okay. Land O'Lakes.
Land O'Lakes. Okay. Give me a call at the office and schedule a conference call with me. Tell them you were on the radio with me, and we'll just, for 20 minutes, sit there and we'll crunch some numbers together, and I'll give you an opinion.
So what's the number she should call today?
It's 800-974-2712. 800-974-2712. Any listener out there is welcome to call the office. Schedule a free consultation with anyone here at the law firm of Morris DuPont. Check us out. The website is homemortgagelaw.com or Morris, Morris, DuPont, DuPont.com. And we also have a frequently asked questions tab on the website. So a lot of the questions that I'm asked in consultations, whether it's be a loan modification, a short sale, deed in lieu, bankruptcy, any of these issues we also put on the website under the frequently asked questions tab. So Margie, thanks for calling the show. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.
And
for
I
your
look
time.
forward to
Appreciate
speaking
it.
with you. Sure.
Shay, let me ask you this. If she's ultimately offered the permanent modification, she's not obligated to take it, is she?
Well, she's not obligated to take it. She can, and you can also do a short sale even if you've done a loan modification.
Okay.
So she's got the 3 trial mod payments, which is perfectly typical for a loan modification. You submit a loan modification application that's reviewed. They come back asking you to make 3 trial modification payments before they will issue a permanent modification. And those 3 trial mod payments is just a number.
Right.
Here, pay this amount for the next 3 months, and then we'll let you know if you're going to get a permanent modification. And it's only in the permanent modification documents that you find out what the new interest rate will be, what the new principal will be if it's changing at all, and what the new term will be, what the amortization schedule is. So you've got that. But, I want to get on with Pam. I know we only have a minute left in this segment, but it's such big news with Pam being in the Washington Post this past week, and such big news to homeowners. I want to get Pam on before we go to break and just kind of give a little teaser, and then we'll come back after the break and talk about the big topic. Pam, are you there with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Pam.
Hey.
How are
Thanks
you?
for having me on. Very good, obviously, and thanks for having me on.
Well, we're happy to have you on, especially.
You should be equally happy as well. We see the great news for you.
I am.
Pam, let's talk a little bit about how long you have been working on trying to get short sellers to have a code where the credit reporting agencies are not reporting them as foreclosures.
2 years.
2 years. Did she say 2 or 3?
2.
Oh,
Relentless. She's
Absolutely.
relentless. You are hard working, dedicated. Once you got a hold of that bone, you didn't let go, and you should be happy that your hard work and efforts have paid off.
So we've got just a couple of seconds here, but let's describe what the problem was, and then after the break, we'll talk about how you came up with a solution.
Okay. The problem was that there is no credit code for a short sale. So the short sales were being coded as foreclosures in the Fannie Mae automated system, resulting in a denial for past short sellers that were trying
Pam,
to...
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to cut you off because we're going to have to go to break. You're listening to the Home Mortgage Law Show, 1-800-974-2712. 1-800-974-2712. More of the Home Mortgage Law Show and Pam coming up after this. You're listening to the Home Mortgage Law Show, brought to you by the law offices of Morris DuPont. Attorneys Will Morris and Shay DuPont, joined by our special guest today, Pam Marin.
That's right. We have Pam Marin on the air with us. Pam Marin is a mortgage broker in the Tampa Bay area. And Pam was telling us the problem that was happening with borrowers who had done a short sale on their property and then found out afterwards that on their credit score, it was listed that they had actually had a foreclosure, even though there might not have ever been a foreclosure filed against the property. So, Pam,
big difference.
I'm sorry we cut you short there. You were explaining what the issue was, and then you were going to talk about how you worked to resolve it.
Yeah, it's basically you had right now there's an estimated 2.2 million eligible past short sellers coming back into the market that were getting turned down through the Fannie Mae automated system. And it would typically be after they had already tried to go out and repurchase, and their lenders had no clue why they were getting turned down. And basically they'd be handed over this denial and told to go back to your short sale lender and get it fixed.
And when borrowers went back to their short sale lender, maybe they had done a short sale 2 years earlier and tried to get it fixed, were the lenders receptive to helping them to change that coding from a foreclosure to something else?
No, because there was no short sale code, so they didn't know what to change it to. So there was a reluctance to even acknowledge the short sale by the lenders, and it was frustrating. Initially, we thought, okay, the realtors get a short sale approval when the short sale is initially approved prior to the property being sold. So why is it so hard for these borrowers to get some kind of documentation that they can take back when it's time to repurchase again that says it was a short sale? Even getting that kind of a letter was next to impossible.
And they shouldn't have to do that. I mean, I don't understand why a code can't be created in a day's time and voila, there's a new code for the credit reporting agencies, and now we have a code for short sales, and that doesn't affect people's credit as bad as a foreclosure coding would. So tell me what you did once you realized what the problem was.
Well, I went to the National Consumer Reporting Association. Quite a few of the credit agencies were directing me there. And you actually met Terry Clemens, the executive director. He was at the November seminar.
Yep.
And we went to Washington in April and realized that this problem was too complicated and basically shortened it, found out what people could understand about it, went to quite a few congressmen and representatives' offices, went to the CFPB, who were incredibly instrumental in making this happen.
That's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yes, and ended up at Senator Nelson's office, and boy, did he grab this and with passion, took this to the Senate, a Senate subcommittee meeting on May 7th, and asked for a fix to be done. And he gave the CFPB and the FTC 90 days to get it done. So I went back to Washington with Terry Clemens again, met with the NCRA, and also met with Richard Cordray with the CFPB, as well as other directors that were already helping. And we didn't get a credit code change.
Right.
What did happen is Fannie Mae changed their computer system to be able to basically recode these or re-look at them. Here's how here's how the fix works, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the CFPB with Fannie Mae and Senator Nelson are who should be given credit for this totally. Basically what happens is the short seller comes into the lender with their short sale documentation. The letter, their realtor got when they short sold, their HUD-1 showing that it was short sold and what date it was. And they take that to the lender when they apply for the new mortgage when they're eligible again. The lender goes into the Fannie Mae system. There's a field that we insert the change, and then you run the automated underwriting system. So it already knows there's a change before it's run, and that was the solution.
Bravo. Congratulations on that.
Congratulations.
It's not a
Right.
perfect solution,
Right.
because I'd like to see a
on the
code.
credit, and the
I'd
credit
like to see an
bureaus.
actual new code. Yeah, the credit bureaus and everybody working together to help people who have gone through a short sale to be able to more easily qualify. But at least it's a solution that everyone is agreeing is making it possible for people like you, mortgage brokers, to be able to help people who have done a short sale in the past to be able to go back into the market and to be able to apply for another mortgage and actually qualify and get in these properties. So is that what you're seeing today, Pam? Are you seeing people who have done a short sale in the last 2 to 3 years being able to qualify and get back into the market?
Yes.
Yay.
And they're coming out. Here's the difference. The people coming back into the market are aggressively coming into the market. And what I'm also seeing is that a lot of them are offering to help to make sure people in their same situation don't go through this again.
And what would be your advice to anyone who is in the process of doing a short sale that will make it easier for them down the road when they are ready to apply for a new mortgage, easier for them to get that mortgage, anything they can do in the short sale process that they're going through today?
Yes, there's 3 things they can do. First of all, before you go out and try to look for another home, get qualified with your lender up front. Make sure that you're through the automated system before you even start looking. And there are 2 fixes that are already working now. One of them is to go onto the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau website, submit a complaint, and you're going to have to attach your documentation of the short sale and simply ask that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau require your bank to give you a letter stating you closed as a short sale.
Oh, okay.
The second option that's also working is to go directly to your short sale lender and ask them for a letter that specifies the same, that you closed as a short sale. However, when you go to your lender, make sure you ask for the escalated executive complaint department, and typically it cuts through, it goes directly to where you need to get that letter from. I'm going to be having a sample of both of those kind of letters, the CFPB letter and the lender letter, on my website.
And give everybody that website.
That is www.closewithpam.com, and then you'll know what to look for to ask your lender for. But those are already working prior to the November 16th solution that will be effective through Fannie Mae.
That's great. Well,
Right.
Pam Marin, congratulations. You did a great job. I mean, you've got this new title now as Consumer Advocate. Bravo to you. Let's give out your information, Pam. Pam Marin is with Bankers Mortgage of Pasco County. And you want to give out that website again, Pam?
Sure, www.closewithpam.com.
And a phone number?
727-375-8986.
And we've got the information here, so you can also contact the law firm of Morris DuPont. Remember, the law firm of Morris DuPont is 800-974-2712. We've got Pam Marin's information. If you are looking to get into a new property, if you're looking to qualify for a mortgage, can't do any better than Pam Marin over there at Bankers Mortgage of Pasco County. Pam, thanks so much for bringing this news to our listeners, coming on the show, and all the work that you've done for the past 2 years to help the borrowers out there across the nation who have done a short sale and make it easier for them to get back into the market.
Thank you, and thanks for your help and your support. You've been there for a long time, Shay, and really I appreciate your entire company's effort and support.
Oh, it's very kind, Pam. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, darling.
Thanks.
You're listening to the Home Mortgage Law Show, brought to you by the law offices of Morris DuPont. 1-800-974-2712. That is a toll-free number for your free consultation at the law offices of Morris DuPont. If you can hear this show, there is an office near you. Pick up the phone. Doesn't cost anything to find out. 1-800-974-2712. Much more of the Home Mortgage Law Show right after the break. You're listening to the Home Mortgage Law Show, brought to you by the law offices of Morris DuPont. Attorneys Will Morris, Shay DuPont, here for you on our flagship station, News Talk 610, 100.3 WIOD and 970 WFLA. If you have a question or concern, now's the time to pick up the phone and call toll-free. You can talk to the experts right here, 866-610-NEWS. That's 866-610-6397. AT&T Wireless customers, star 610.
You know, it's good in life to have a partner that makes you laugh, but it's even more important in business that you have a partner that makes you laugh. So Will Morris is a great law partner. I love being in business with you, but
So do I.
you do still make me laugh after all these years. 20-something years we've
I'm
known
just
each
silly,
other.
that's all.
Well, that might be true, too. We have a call.
Let's see. Tina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tina.
Hello.
Hi, what can we do for you today?
I have a question for you. We have a home here in Tampa, and my father-in-law had a house in Tennessee. He had a massive stroke many years ago, several years ago,
Sorry.
and we had to move him to Florida to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, we took out a $55,000 note on his house. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We thought we wouldn't have a problem selling it should we have to do that. But it became apparent that he wasn't going to be getting any better. We put the house in the market for 2 years, even just at $55,000, just trying to break even, and we couldn't sell it. He passed away, and we did a short sale on the house. And I'm wondering what our tax liability is. That the paperwork they sent us, of course, says we're responsible for a lot of that. And I don't know, come tax time, are we really going to be responsible for all of that?
Okay, very good question. But there was a lot of they,
Right.
the property.
Right.
So,
Who's in a note?
so let's talk about that property up there in Tennessee, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that property in Tennessee was owned outright by your father-in-law,
Yes,
and there was no mortgage on it at the time.
correct.
And then someone got a mortgage on the property and signed a note for $55,000. Who was that?
That was my husband,
Okay.
his son.
Okay, so the note is only in your husband's name.
Correct.
Okay, so your husband then has a mortgage
How
note.
was the note? How was the note to be able to be in the husband's name if it was owned by the father-in-law?
Maybe they.
Well, he had power of attorney because when he had the stroke, we had to take over power of attorney for everything on him.
So that's not
And I
necessarily.
don't think it wasn't a mortgage. It was a I forget what they call it.
A home equity line of credit,
Home equity line of credit. That's
otherwise
correct.
known as a HELOC.
Right.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit
right.
more. Yeah, go ahead, Will.
Yeah. So if your husband had power of attorney, and he obviously had to sign the papers. That doesn't necessarily mean the note is in his name. It could still be in your father-in-law's name. It has to be, as a matter of fact. He's signing on behalf of your father-in-law.
True, but when we did the short sale, everything was obviously just in my husband's name.
Well, are you still doing it on behalf of your father-in-law?
I didn't. I don't think my father-in-law's name was anywhere on that paperwork.
Well, obviously, because if your husband had power of attorney, that means the husband is the one who's taking over all the responsibility. He's standing in the shoes of your father-in-law,
True.
right? So I think the note is still in your father-in-law's name.
What you need to do is you need to go back to the original paperwork that was originated when that loan for $55,000 was taken out, and you've got to see in whose name that note was, because that's the only person that has an obligation under the note, i.e., that's the only person that would have a tax consequence. So if your husband was simply signing as POA for his
father-in-law, he doesn't have any personal liability on that.
Absolutely zero. So therefore, if he has no personal liability on the note, he has no tax consequence. It would have been your father-in-law's tax consequence. So there's no tax consequence for your husband. Now, if it's a different scenario we're talking about here, Tina, and your father-in-law put your son on the title to the property so that your son could go out and qualify for that $55,000 HELOC, and your husband took out that HELOC in his own name.
Different answer.
Then he would have a tax liability for the deficiency amount, meaning the difference between what the lender was owed at the time of the short sale and the proceeds that the lender received from the short sale itself. So if the loan was for $55,000 and the property sold for $40,000 minus closing costs and real estate commissions, the lender only received $35,000, then yes, the lender is going to issue your husband a 1099-C, cancellation of debt, for $20,000, $55,000 minus the $35,000 that the lender received. That deficiency amount is $20,000. So that 1099 that your husband receives, yes, he's going to have a tax consequence on that $20,000. That's something he's going to want to talk to his accountant about, so that they can discuss, well, are there any losses that we have to carry forward to offset that phantom income? Can he qualify for the insolvency test to see whether or not he's going to have to pay taxes on that at all? What isn't going to be relevant, Tina, is the Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act of 2007, which a lot of people are aware of, which only relates to primary residence. And the Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act of 2007 says, if you have principal forgiveness by your lender on your primary residence and the lender issues you a 1099, the IRS is going to forgive the tax consequences of that phantom income. But again, it only relates to a primary residence.
Right. When it would have perhaps been my father-in-law's primary residence, but yeah, I knew that I have read that and knew that we couldn't fall under that tax code. So I'm a little worried about it because it's like $30,000 we're responsible for. So.
Well, you're not. I don't know that you have any responsibility for it. So again, go back and find that note, and you'll have a satisfaction of mortgage as well. So look at the satisfaction of mortgage and see whose name it's in. The other thing you can do, which you should be doing every year, everybody, annualcreditreport.com. Pull your credit report. Is it showing on your husband's credit report as a liability of your husband's? If it's not, it's probably because he's not on the note. He was simply signing with a power of attorney. All right?
All right. Okay.
Good luck with that.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Interesting question.
Yeah. The Mortgage Debt Relief Act of 2007 generates a lot of confusion for people, and especially for people who think, well, gosh, if it's not my primary residence, I'm going to have to pay all these taxes. Well, it's very rare that any one of our clients, even when they are doing a short sale on an investment property, has to pay taxes on that principal forgiveness. There's plenty of ways that your accountant can figure out to offset that that phantom income.
And we've seen Regal Tax Advisory, the accountant that we sort of use. We've seen them do it all the time.
All the time. Regal Tax Advisory Group. You want to have a great accountant on your side. You're looking for an accountant that can help your business, can help you with your personal taxes. You want to contact Regal Tax Advisory Group. Give us a call at the law firm and we'll give you their number, 800-974-2712. That's the law firm of Morris DuPont. We're going to take some more calls after the break, but let's talk a little bit right now about the law firm. Remember, free consultations available. You might be meeting with me next week. That would be in Tampa, St. Petersburg, the Dadeland office, Doral. The Doral office just moved, folks. It's now a mile from where it used to be. So if you're coming by to drop off some paperwork or just coming by to say hi to the folks that you are working with at Morris DuPont, remember, we've moved. It's a mile away. So we've got the Doral office.
Do you know our new address?
Oh, well. How do you get to the office every day?
I don't know it. I'm sorry.
Thank goodness for GPS. You need to implant one of those chips in your brain.
I'm still turning around in the actual office itself. I'm not sure where my actual office is.
Oh, I shake my head. And you know what? You're such a brilliant litigator. You're such an incredible litigator. I'm in awe sometimes of these arguments that you come up with. It's such creative ways of dealing with some of these cases that we've got. And then I ask you what's 2 and 2, and you're like, yabbada, yabbada, yabbada. I was like, what is with his brain? Our new law firm's office is 1200 Northwest 78th Avenue.
Is that right?
No, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, after all.
Here's the safe thing to do. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-974-2712. That number is a sure thing. 1-800-974-2712. That's a free consultation at the law offices of Morris DuPont, wherever they may be. 1-800-974-2712. Much more of the Home Mortgage Law Show in Milton. Your call is next here on the Home Mortgage Law Show.